everyone, I'm Tanisha Marie. I'm the owner of TMarieInnovations, which is a business development and credit consultant company, and I'm here to tell you the different types of bankruptcies that are out there. I've had clients that actually did do a bankruptcy, and some of them stated that it was the best decision that they've ever made, and some will say, well, I wish I would have used your services before I did this bankruptcy because now my credit score is not where it should be and I'm hurting. So let's break down the different types of bankruptcies that there are so that just in case if you wanted to file for bankruptcy, I do not recommend, but if you chose to, you will know the difference between the different types of bankruptcies and which one is best for you to apply for. If you know someone who's currently going through bankruptcy, or if you just want that knowledge for yourself, stay tuned to this video, grab your pen and grab your paper and jot down some notes. So there are 6 different types of bankruptcies. The first one, of course, which is most common, which is Chapter 7 liquidation. It is a court-appointed trustee that oversees liquidation sale of all of your assets. That means anything that you own that is worth of value. This is what they are looking at. They will typically use that value in order to pay your creditors off. Any type of balance that you may have is what they're going to use that for. Any remaining unsecured debt that you would have, like maybe there's a medical bill or a credit card bill, that will be deleted. That is something that you will no longer owe. This is what this chapter is for. There's other debts that will not be forgiven under bankruptcy, like student loans or taxes. Taxes being federal, student loans are being federal. That's just something that will not be forgiven. That is something that you will definitely have to pay. I've heard some of my clients say that they did have student loans factor within their bankruptcy to be deleted off their file. It is very, very rare. And I feel as though what I have seen as far as their credit history, the only reason why student loans were tapped in is because of the fact that they were probably 10 years or older. Also, with this type of chapter, it will not stop your foreclosure process. So if you are going through foreclosure and you decide to file a Chapter 7, do not expect that Chapter 7 to stop your foreclosure process. Your foreclosure process will continue to go along, and it's either you fight for that home or make some type of ends meet different ways in order to pay that bill off, pay it currently, or just find a different home to go to. Because again, this chapter will not help stop that proceeding. Now, depending upon where you reside at, whatever state, this chapter will not force you to sell your home that you are in. It will not force you to sell your car. It will not force you to sell out any type of retirement accounts that you have. It actually protects that. So you would not have to worry about putting your home up for sale unless that's something that you want to do on your end, but you will not have to worry about doing that when you file a Chapter 7. With this particular chapter, even though it is most common, the only way you can file for a Chapter 7 is if the courts decide that you do not make enough in order for you to pay those outstanding debts. The courts will be the ones to determine which chapter you should file for. And again, they are the ones that make that decision if Chapter 7 is the one that's best for you. And on top of that, if you want to know how long it stays on your credit report, it stays on there for 10 years. The next one is Chapter 13. That is the repayment plan option of a bankruptcy. Now, I need you to listen to this because it may sound similar to Chapter 7, but Chapter 13 is completely different. Let me explain how. It forgives all of your debt, and it actually reorganizes all your debt. If you've ever heard consolidating your debt, this is something that does that. It consolidates all of your debt from credit card debt to your mortgage loan debt to any type of debt that you may have that you are not able to pay for. It consolidates all that debt so then you're only able to make one initial payment. The court approves a monthly amount so that you are able to pay back the portion of the unsecured debt that you would have. And then all of your secured debt over a period of 3 to 5 years should be paid off. It also depends on your monthly income, of how the court determines of how much you are able and capable of paying. Now, with you being in a bankruptcy, you have to maintain that monthly payment in order for them to pay that debt. With this chapter, the court also puts you on a strict budget plan, meaning it will break down what you pay on a monthly basis, including this repayment plan option, and it forces you to strictly abide by that budget plan. There's nothing outside of that that you need to get. The courts will also check your spending. They want to make sure you are legitimately using your income to pay your necessities of what you have, and also paying your monthly amount for this repayment plan. If not, of course, that's reneging on what you have, abide by as far as the bankruptcy. You could get into a serious amount of trouble. So make sure that you do, if you choose to, pay that on time on a monthly basis and keep your budget intact. As in Chapter 7 will not stop any foreclosure process. However, for Chapter 13, it actually stops your foreclosure process. You are able to pay whatever you had behind. It helps with that. So if you are behind $3,500, it will give you an opportunity to pay back that $3,500 and stopping that foreclosure process. That way you still have a home to live in, your home that you chose to have a mortgage loan on. So that is definitely a benefit of having this chapter of bankruptcy if you're looking to do bankruptcy. Now with this one, you also have to be up to date with taxes in order for you to file Chapter 13. Up to date with taxes because it is federal. And this particular chapter actually stays on your credit report for 7 years. Now, there are other chapters that I want to go ahead and discuss as well, because like I said, there are 6. So the next one is Chapter 11, and this one is large reorganization. Okay. This is used as far as corporations or businesses. So if you own a business and you're falling in major debt, or if you are listed as a corporation falling in major debt, or as you've heard other corporations filing for bankruptcy, Chapter 11 is that bankruptcy. Businesses come up with a plan on how they want to continue to operate, and they want to be able to pay their employees. They want to be able to have different lenders come out, trying to brand the business, trying to expand the business to make more money, maybe even come up with new products to sell in order to make more money. This is the chapter that they file when they're falling deep in debt. And this also helps them pay off their debt. Again, the reorganization, so it consolidates all that debt, and then they come up with a payment plan in order to get that paid off. With this one, it's just not the courts approving it. It's also the creditors that are going to approve this as well within the courts, because you owe the creditors the money and they want to make sure they get their money back. And the courts wants to make sure, yeah, you can still up and run your business, but we also want you to pay the creditors. So both of them have to agree in order for you to be approved for your Chapter 11. With this chapter, a lot of real estate investors actually depend on Chapter 11. This particular chapter actually focuses on real estate investors. A lot of real estate investors, you may see that they have fallen into debt, because what I have learned is that some real estate investors will take out loans in order to purchase some type of real estate property. And once they get one, they get another, and it's consistently taking out loan after loan after loan, to the point where they cannot afford to pay that, even though they have people renting it off, or even if they sold that property in order to pay that debt. That's why this chapter is important for them, because of the fact that, it's helping them consolidate all that debt, and it's helping them repay that debt so that they're still able to keep their properties and able to keep them maintained and up to date. The next one is Chapter 12. This is for all of your farmers, your family farmers, anyone like that. This allows family farmers and fishermen, okay, to avoid having to sell any of their stuff or foreclose on their property that they have land on. The farmers, they do not have to worry about forced closure. They don't have to worry about selling their stocks, their lands, anything that they have on that. This chapter is for them. It is more flexible for them, and they have higher debt limits for farmers because, here in Iowa in the Midwest, we depend on our farmers, and we had a point where it was raining massively for weeks. And being dependent upon those farmers, they are dependent upon what they grow and sell. And a lot of crop was ruined because of that. So some of these farmers out here would have typically filed a Chapter 12 in order to save what they have. Chapter 15 is your international bankruptcy. This gives the foreign debtors to access U.S. bankruptcy courts. So if you are a company, business owner, and you rely on international debt, this chapter is for you because they are able to access U.S. bankruptcy files. So that would typically work in your favor. There's not too much information given as far as Chapter 15, other than that basic. It is all international. Lastly, Chapter 9, which deals with the cities. So this type of bankruptcy is another repayment plan. It is allowed as far as towns, cities, school districts, and it's giving them an opportunity to have them repay any type of debt that they may owe. So if you've seen the schools close, well, typically they did not file for a Chapter 9. If you've seen any type of lease sign or for sale sign outside of a business and that business has not officially closed, more than likely they are going through a Chapter 9 bankruptcy. And by the time that they're finished with that, they could save that particular business, save that particular location while they're paying it back. Okay, so I wanted to get more into depth about Chapter 7 and Chapter 13. Just in case, if you missed the beginning of the video, you can always retract or you can continue on. So here we go. Chapter 7 is your liquidation bankruptcy. Chapter 13 is your reorganization bankruptcy. Okay, who can file Chapter 7? Individuals and businesses. Small businesses are able to file this one as well. Chapter 13 is just individuals. Also, those who actually file self-employment, Chapter 13 is for you. Who is eligible? So for Chapter 7, your income has to be below a certain amount. And it also depends on where you live at too. That will have you qualify for Chapter 7. As far as Chapter 13, they don't want any type of income requirements. But what they look at is the debt, and it all depends on how much debt you owe in order to be eligible and qualify for a Chapter 13. So for Chapter 7, for your unsecured debt, which is your credit cards and medical bills, what happens to that if you were to file for a Chapter 7? Chapter 7, it gets rid of all of it, okay? Except student loans, taxes, child support, alimony. For Chapter 13, most of it is paid and erased over time, and that's because of the fact that you are on a repayment plan. So what happens with your secured debt? Your secured debt is your car loans, your mortgages, line of credit, anything like that, installment loans. So what happens with that when it comes down to a Chapter 7? Non-exempt assets are sold to pay off your secured debt, okay? Non-exempt assets. Whatever you have as far as an asset, remember Chapter 7 goes based off what you have as assets that have value. Whatever you have as far as value, that amount will be paid towards your secured debt, which is your mortgage, your car loan, and any other type of installment loans that you would have on your file. Now, as far as Chapter 13, your secured debt is paid back over time, i.e. the repayment plan that you have. But the assets that you have, or those that you would put as far as value for Chapter 7, you do not have to do that for Chapter 13. You are not forced to sell those to get some type of value in order to pay. Again, if you are currently in foreclosure, Chapter 7 will not save you from that foreclosure. It will continue on that process. If you were to file Chapter 13, it actually saves you from that because it will be part of your repayment plan. It stops the foreclosure process, and you can continue on with your repayment plan provided by the courts. If you were to file for any chapter bankruptcy, you want to know how long this is typically going to take for your bankruptcy. Chapter 7 is going to take between 4 to 6 months. However, Chapter 13 could take up to 3 to 5 years. Why? Because Chapter 7, again, depends on the value of the assets that you are selling. So it's a quicker closure, okay? With Chapter 13, again, it's a repayment plan. So 3 to 5 years is because you're repaying back all that debt provided by the monthly amount based off of your income that the courts decide how much you pay. That's why it takes that long for that to close. Those who watch their credit report closely, they want to know how long this is going to stay on their report. Chapter 7, 10 years. Okay? Chapter 13, you're looking at 7. The reason being, even though it takes a longer period of time for Chapter 13 to close out, during that time, it will not take a major effect on your credit file or your credit score. The older it gets, the less effect it has. Even though Chapter 7 takes 4 to 6 months for them to report and get everything underway and close out, it's still going to be on there for 10 years. It just wants to show what you have. So between the two, Chapter 13 is your best option if you were to do that because it stays on your credit report for a shorter period of time. However, it takes longer as far as staying open before closure because of the fact that you're repaying. So you're probably sitting there like, well, dang, that's a lot of information to take in. It just sounds like there's a lot of harboring if I were to file bankruptcy. Yes, it is a big deal when you file bankruptcy. It's a big choice that you have to look into, and that's if you decide to. I do not recommend bankruptcy because of how long it stays on your credit file. I've had clients who have filed bankruptcy, and like I said before, they feel as though it's the best decision that they've ever made, and that's because they may have fallen into major debt. So it saved them. But let's look at options if you choose not to. Okay. Number 1, take care of those responsibilities first. Your monthly. That's your rent, your mortgage, your utilities, your food, your transportation. Pay that first. That takes care of that. That way you don't have to worry about paying late fees or having it add up on a monthly basis to a point where you're getting letters in the mail. Pay that first. Second one, budget. Break down what you pay on a monthly basis, from how much you pay as far as rent, as far as you pay as utilities, cable, internet, car insurance, home insurance, anything like that. Break it down and go back within your budget plan to see which one is really not needed. As far as cable is concerned, you got Netflix, you have Hulu, you have Amazon Prime, you have different subscriptions out here that you are able to sign up for that is way cheaper than cable. Internet options. There's different internet companies out here that you're able to look into that have different package plans, or they have different plans where it's cheaper than the next company. So take a look as far as that. Insurance is the same way. There's a lot of companies out here who have cheaper types of insurance. Look into that. But also, when it comes down to car insurance, you want to look as far as full coverage or liability. I always recommend full coverage. That way, just in case if the other party didn't have insurance, at least your insurance can cover your vehicle. You're not asked out. I typically say that your budget plan is your survival game. This is when you feel as though time has ran out, or you feel as though we don't have enough funds in order to do exciting things. This is your survival period. This is where you actually calculate and determine what will I have left over that you can put within savings, that you can put within other areas of necessities that you are needing. And what I mean by that, like if you shampoo, conditioner, anything that has to do with self-care, providing those necessities. There are stores out there that has that product for cheap. Dollar Tree is one of them. Everything's $1. Dollar General, Family Dollar, Walmart has cheaper items than your regular grocery stores. So definitely check that stuff out so then you're able to ball on a budget. Also, boost your income. Of course, dealing with me, business development is one of my priorities as far as my business is concerned. I help develop businesses from the ground up. So when I mean boost your business, some people will have their main income by working for someone. Then you have those who want that extra income by getting a secondary job, or they choose to open up their own line of business. That's where I come into play at. So the more income that you have, the more funds that you have, the more funds that you have, the more ways to pay your debt. Easy as pie, okay? So if you choose to open up your line of business, definitely contact me. Again, my email is down below in the details section so that you're able to contact me, or comment down below and let me know if you need some assistance. But definitely boost your income. And the next one, of course, is sell stuff that you don't need or you don't use. That you would be surprised of how much you accumulate in your home over the period of time that you have lived there. And there's a lot of stuff that you do not use or that you don't need that you can sell. You have an app called Let Go. You have Craigslist. You have Facebook Market. There's so many options out there where you are able to sell your stuff for some funds and just stash it away so that you can use that to pay your debt. I hope you all ended up getting enough information as far as bankruptcies is concerned, as far as what you can do that does not go into bankruptcy. If you choose that route, I hope you learned the difference between each bankruptcy. And comment down below what you think about this. Tell me what you want to learn more about, and I'll be happy to make a video about it. So I'm Trinesha Marie, and this is Team Marie Innovations. Have a great day.